Okay, it's just gone 7 o'clock, so let's get started. Welcome to everyone in the audience and those watching at home to this meeting of the Cabinet. I'm Councillor Shantanu Rajawat, Leader of the Council and Chair of this meeting. I'm joined around the table with colleagues on Cabinet who will introduce themselves as they speak, and officers who advise but don't take part in the decision making. We've got quite a big agenda, which I want to get through. Lots of things in there, so hopefully you get something out of it. I'm going to start with agenda item 1, which is apologies for absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Sampson, and as far as I can tell, the rest of Cabinet are here. So that's good. Are there any declarations of interest from Cabinet members on any of the items? I can't see anyone indicating. And any communications from members? Councillor Shivraj Garal?
Some emails regarding the parking strategy regarding motorbikes. So I will be, when I present my report, I will just say a few lines on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Salman Sheen. Councillor Dunn.
I've had lots of correspondence on e-bikes in general. Also to say that I'm a member of the London Cycling Campaign, although that's not a conflict of interest, but just for the record.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dunn. Okay, can I just ask members to take note of the monitoring officer's note on interests as well? Right, we'll move on to agenda item 2, which is the minutes of the meeting held on 14th of May. I'm going to take them page by page for accuracy and matters arising at the same time. Starting at page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, and finally page 13. Members, are we happy to sign off the minutes? Agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Right, before we move on to the first substantive item, there is an item going to Borough Council, which is the scrutiny annual report. Councillor Raza, I've agreed, can just say a few words to highlight to Cabinet some of the things he's going to say at Borough Council. So I'll hand over very briefly to you, Councillor Raza, to introduce.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chair. So this is just quite literally a briefing note for everybody here. So our constituencies asked Overview and Scrutiny Committee to provide an update to Borough Council each year. This annual report sets out the work of OSC and its scrutiny panels. Whilst it doesn't appear in your Cabinet papers, the report is for Borough Council, not Cabinet. I wanted to take a moment to remind you of the appearance at July's Council meeting. Scrutiny is an important element of good governance. In 2023-24, not only did we continue to hold the account, review and development policy and look beyond the council as we consider the impact on Metropolitan Police, the NHS on Hounslow, but also we tried new approaches such as scrutiny in a day with housing associations. Our 3 scrutiny panels helped develop policies, recommendations on biodiversity and flood resilience, school readiness, and employment support available for people with SEND. The annual report sets out in detail and more. I would urge leaders and Cabinet members to take a moment to review it. As I enter my 3rd year as Chair of OSC, I hope the constructive relationship that exists between scrutiny and the executive continue through 2024-25 and beyond. Thank you so much, Leader.
Thank you. And for those that are slightly confused, Councillor Raza has a standing invite to Cabinet. He doesn't take part in the decision making. I should have said that at the beginning, but thank you, Councillor Raza. Right, we'll move on to our first substantive item, which is item 3, the Resident Survey 2024. Cabinet colleagues, there is a supplementary agenda on this with just some corrections. Councillor Garawal, over to you. Ajma Garawal, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. So this report covers the findings of our resident survey, which colleagues are asked to note, and proposals for a Vision 2050 exercise shapes long-term planning and policy development for communities. It's our first independent borough-wide residents survey since 2018. It took place during January and February this year, and the 1,100 participants are representative sample of our population. It covers a range of areas, including people's satisfaction of where they live and the council in general and Pacific services. It also asks about priorities for the borough and explores themes such as community safety and climate change. The report summarizes the findings and then identifies measures being taken to address some of the priorities or areas of dissatisfaction raised by residents. I'm pleased to report there are many positives for the council and the borough. 82% of people are satisfied with their local area as a place to live, which is slightly significantly higher than the local government association's national benchmark. Only 9% are dissatisfied. 74% of people say the council is doing a good job, which is 11% points higher than people told us in 2018. Please note there are some minor errors, as the leader said, in the figures in the report, and these have been identified and corrected in an additional paper published online and available here tonight. The report moves on to propose that this resident survey act as a springboard for a wider program of engagement to inform longer-term planning. Called Vision 2050. This program will yield a range of insights from across the borough and beyond on key topics to shape a long-term policy agenda for Hounslow for the next 25 years. The process will involve much local engagement to ensure representative feedback. We will also bring in external organizations to discuss themes such as net zero, physical and mental well-being, community safety, and regeneration and place shaping. I formally move this report to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garawal. And because you've got to introduce yourself, Councillor Garawal is the portfolio holder for resident support, communities and equalities. Cabinet members, remember to introduce yourselves. I will formally second the report, and in seconding it, I will say I was actually very pleased with the results, the positive comments that were received from our residents. There were a wide range of topics that were discussed with the sample that was spoken to. That having been said, we have to be responsive to those who expressed dissatisfaction or issues, and we need to respond to those in due course through what we do, and that will never be forgotten. And obviously a number of the policies that we have already agreed, things like the Equality, Diversity, Inclusion strategy, the new Thriving Community strategy that's due to be released soon, amongst others, are really, really important parts of that, but also the way the council's moving to more of a localities approach, working closely with our communities, will be ever important in the work that we do and being responsive to the communities. So informally seconding that, just wanted to make those comments. It's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Shaheen.
Thank you very much, Leader Councillor Salman Shaheen, Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Public Spaces. I want to thank Councillor Garawal for bringing this forward. Absolutely an incredibly important piece of work to survey our residents in this way. And it is important to remember that this is a robust survey adhering to absolutely the best polling standards with a truly representative sample of Hounslow's population, over 1,100 people surveyed, and that's and polling organisations would use that as a benchmark for a highly representative survey of the entire borough. So what we know from that is that the data we're getting back is very reflective of our population and the different cohorts and groups within that population across all areas of the borough. And that's really important to bear in mind. It's important to remember where we're doing well. It's important to also draw lessons where we can improve. And I think all of this data gives us a targeted ability to do that. I'm just going to give a quick plug for libraries, seeing them come out at 88%. Absolutely fantastic to see that happen. And it really underscores the importance of the policy that we've pursued, which has been no cuts to our libraries, and to bolster them and ensure that they are a vital and a central part of our communities, rather than as some councils have done when faced with tough economic decisions, they've cut back on the libraries. We haven't. We have seen them central to our communities. And, oh, what's that underneath there? Parks. 82% of people are satisfied with their parks. I'm really pleased to see that too, would you believe? Having just come from the Green Flag Awards held over in Camden, where Hounslow won 21 green flags, the most we've ever won, joint most we've ever won, and came 7th in London in terms of the number of green flags won. So proving ultimately that we have some of the best parks in London, and this resident survey bears that out. So I'm really, really pleased, really, really proud of everything we've done. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, and this gives us the data to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. Councillor Catherine Dunn, Cabinet Member for Climate, Environment and Transport. Very pleased to see this reported. It's really important that we carry out these resident surveys on a regular basis. And I'm glad that we will be going forward with this every 2 years. It's worth reflecting on why we do this and how it fits into other forms of other surveys and things that we do in the council. So we obviously do carry out an awful lot of engagement and consultation with our residents, and often that engagement and consultation is around a particular project, perhaps a particular scheme that we're implementing. It could be around planning, transport, or everything that we do where it's going to affect residents, we carry out engagement and consultation. Of course, we're carrying out our radical overhaul of that in order to improve that as well. And with that kind of consultation, it's very much aimed at or is responded to by the people who are interested in those particular things that we're consulting on. Often, although not always, by people who are unhappy with something that we have proposed and want to make that known to us. And that's very important as well. It's important that we understand why people might not be happy with things that we're proposing, what the reasons are, and so that we can not necessarily say we're not going to do this if we have good reasons for doing it, and but to understand how it can be changed, how perhaps some of the negative effects can be mitigated. And we also want to hear from people who are happy and positive and can make positive suggestions as well, and as we often do. But what that doesn't give us, and obviously Councillor Shaheen has already spoken about this, is a representative view. It gives us people who are interested in a particular thing. So when we want an accurate picture of what the borough is thinking on a number of different topics, as we have asked them about in this survey, then this representative polling is the way to do it. And of course, I don't need to go into the detail of how that's done because it's in the report and it's been explained by Councillor Shaheen. But it helps us to check that we're on the right track with things. It shows us what things we need to address, what we might need to change, or perhaps what we might need to communicate better. And so it gives us an opportunity to find out things we might not have known already. So in this one, I specifically asked for questions to be put in there about net zero and some of our measures on active travel. And so I'm absolutely delighted with the results on those particular things that show approximately 75%, 3/4 of the borough do show support for our very ambitious goals on net zero, and also people willing to make changes to their own lifestyles, and also supportive of active travel and of schemes to reduce car use and vehicles in residential areas. So that's really good. It doesn't mean we're complacent. You know, we have to understand why some people aren't happy with things and what we can do better. But it's just one example of something where perhaps what we hear on a regular basis is not necessarily the true picture, and the true picture can help us to move forward in a positive way.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Absolutely right. Welcome to your first Cabinet meeting, Councillor Raghuwin Sidhu.
Thank you, Leader. It's really excellent that what we are doing, and with this report, while Hounslow remains a very low crime borough, but it's clear that community safety and fear of the crime is priority for our residents, particularly at night time. So the Hounslow Community Safety Partnership Board, which I will be chairing as a lead member, has recognized this, and the task and finish group has been set to develop an action plan involving the council, police, local businesses, and community groups in order to tackle this and communicate all the work and initiatives taking place, such as our violence against women and girls, so that we can plan to dedicate a town center police team. So the council has funds its own dedicated police team focusing on our housing estates. So we are working on that. Thank you.
Yeah, a real tangible from what the feedback we're getting, and more work to come. I know that you're all leading on. Anyone else on this report? Right, let's find the recommendations because I've lost them. Right, the recommendations on this report are on page 14, 1, 2, and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, Councillor Garawal, we'll go back to you for a fairer, more equal Hounslow Equality, Diversity, Inclusion Strategy and Action Plan.
Okay, I will start right this time. Councillor Ajmer Garawal, Cabinet Member for Resident Support, Communities and Equalities. Thank you, Leader. The EDI strategy, a fairer, more equal Hounslow and action plan, was approved by Cabinet on 14th June 2023, leading to a 3-pillar approach: equality by place, equality by group, and equality as an employer. The Cabinet report tonight seeks members' approval for 1, to agree the proposed approach and the governance structure to deliver our Pillar 1 ambition for a fairer, more equal Hounslow. 2, to note overall progress achieved in year 1 under our ambition for Pillar 1 for all our residents wherever they live in the borough, and for Pillar 2 to promote EDI for our equality groups, and for Pillar 3 to promote EDI as an employer. And 3, to note the first draft Equality Opportunity Area Action Plan for North Hyde and North Cranford. So just to a little bit of detail on these recommendations. 1, the new cluster approach and the governance arrangements. The 30 equality opportunity areas are being grouped into a networked cluster of 10 areas to enable a realistic and pragmatic use of limited resources. The new cluster approach seeks to maximize opportunities created by regeneration schemes, housing developments, and other projects to directly target social value and other investment opportunities to support every cluster. Therefore, members are asked to agree the new approach and the arrangements for governance set out in paragraphs 3.14 to 3.19. Number 2, the Council has a legal duty under the Equality Act 2010 to report progress against EDI strategy, objectives and priorities annually. This report responds to that duty and asks members to note the significant progress made against equality priorities identified by residents and staff. Appendix 1 attached to this report shows that strong progress has been achieved under each pillar. So Pillar 1, 4 out of 8 actions completed. Pillar 2, 38 out of 47 actions completed. Pillar 3, 5 out of 9 actions completed. The remaining actions are currently in progress. Members are also asked to note the draft Equality Opportunity Area Action Plan in Appendix 2, which is the outcome of the workshops with partners and departments, third sector and private sector, working together to address the needs of residents in North Hyde and North Cranford. So overall, I'm pleased to say that our Year 1 EDI performance has kicked off to a strong start, boosted by rich data, insight and resident feedback and partner engagement. All strategies, decisions, programs and projects will be required to proactively demonstrate how they can direct and target benefits to people and places where inequality is highest through a quality impact assessment. Thank you. The report's in front of you.
Thank you, Councillor Garawal. I'll formally second it. And again, I'll just say a few words. It's interesting, isn't it? The last government talked about EDI being woke. Well, actually, this is a prime example of how EDI work runs all the way through everything we do as a council, with clear action plans and real targeting for those that are vulnerable and that groups that struggle to engage with us and civil society more generally. Having the 30 opportunity areas is something that we talk about. In fact, Councillor Bruce and I were at a meeting, an offsite meeting earlier, and we talked about the 30 opportunity areas. So it actually is in action in everything that we do as a council. So this is just more than a strategy that sits in isolation. This does cross through everything that we do as a council, and it's so important in our quest to stamp out structural inequality where we see it. So a really important update. Thank you, Councillor Garawal, for the update, and the action plan is very detailed and well worth the read if you're at home or in the audience to look at the interventions that we're putting in place, not only in North Cranford and North Hyde, but also across the borough as well. So I'll formally second the report. It's therefore open for discussion and debate. I've got Councillor Bath and Councillor Bruce.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I'm actually, I'm Councillor Lily Bath, the Cabinet member, I better remember it now because it's changed, adult social care and health, public health and social care integration. So what I wanted to say is that I'm really proud of this work that has been done. I remember it when it started from humble beginnings, post-pandemic, when we looked at how our communities were affected by the pandemic, and it really basically highlighted the fact that we had lots of structural inequalities and we needed to address that. And I think that thanks to yourself and the cabinet members before and all the officers, we've just really grasped this and run with it, and it's just grown, and it's amazing to see the amount of work that's done. I mean, the data that we've established, the workshops, the opportunities. I mean, I just think of course, it's really important, but it does run through everything, and it's right that we continue this work because we are a very diverse borough, but we also saw how our communities were so disproportionately impacted by the COVID, and it just highlighted the fact that there were things that we needed to do to address those structural inequalities, and we need to do that across the council in all of our services and our policies. So I'm really pleased to see this, and I know it will get better and better, but a really important piece of work, and absolutely support it. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bath. Councillor Bruce.
Councillor Tom Bruce, Deputy Leader of the Council, Cabinet Member for Assets, Regeneration and Development. I think this goes really well with the previous report, in fact, because what we're saying here is how, in many ways, how positive, both these reports talk about how positive things are in Hounslow. We've got lots of good stuff to say, lots of good work that's going on, lots of things that residents tell us are going really well, particularly on the previous report. But what they both talk to is the fact that as a council, we don't shy away from difficult questions. We don't shy away from those difficult conversations. What this report and the previous report say is we want to be positive. We want to talk about how great the place where we live is, but we know there's a lot to do. And we acknowledge, this report particularly acknowledges the fact that there's a huge amount to do. And we know that there's huge structural inequality in our society, in our country, and in the place, in the borough where we live. We talk about that, we acknowledge that, and our action plan here says what we're going to do about that, what we want to do. And there's a lot of work that's happened, a lot of work that needs to happen, particularly on the place part of this. As the leader said, we were talking about this in a meeting only earlier today. I talk about this work in lots of meetings I have because it does give tangible things to people, to groups, to developers, to anyone that I'm talking to, say this is what Hounslow Council needs from you. We hear what you're going to offer, but actually what we need is this. And what we need from particularly lots of groups that I talk to, what we need is support in helping us deliver this. And how can you come into our borough? How can you, benefit the borough in the best possible way? And we'll obviously support you in return with the things that you need. So an absolutely fantastic piece of work that shows the positivity in this borough, but doesn't shy away from those difficult conversations and questions. Thank you, Councillor Garrawal.
Yeah, quite right. Anyone else on this report? No, I can't see anyone else indicating. So the recommendations on this report are on page 66, 1, 2, and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. Right, we now move on to agenda item 5, which is the Care Quality Commission Local Authority Assessment of Adult Social Care. The outcome, Councillor Bath.
Thank you, Leader. So what I'm asking Cabinet to do today is to note the outcome of the inspection, the full inspection of adult social care services by the CQC. So just to give you a little bit of context, the Health and Care Act 2022 gave powers to the Care Quality Commission to carry out assessments of local authorities to basically see how well the adult social care services are performing. So we got a tap on the shoulder some time back, like you do. I think we were the one of the first few councils to have that. So obviously that was quite challenging for everybody there. But on the 17th of May, the CQC published the actual outcome for Hounslow, and I'm really pleased to say that the adult social care service was recognised overall as good. So which is obviously really excellent news. So I'm going to give you a quick summary of some of what they said about Hounslow in terms of the adult social care services that are provided. And you can read the actual full report, it's attached to this, but some of the summary is obviously priority in keeping people safe. That's really important. The local authority had robust processes to manage risk, etc., and ensure people were safe pending full completion of assessments and reviews. Just to continue on that, staff, this is I'm not going to read out all of them because you can see it in the report, but staff who worked at Hounslow were proud to do so and passionate about serving the local population, given that when you provide adult social care services, they are really challenging. You're on the front line, and to get that feedback, I think, is really good. Another positive, the workforce was broadly representative of the local community, so I think that again that's really good to see, given that we are a diverse community. The council works as one Hounslow across several departments. I think that's always pleasing to hear, isn't it, to us, that that council works together. Partnership with other neighbouring boroughs, and a range of support is available, etc., etc. So you can read it here. So Hounslow, obviously, with every inspection, there's areas of improvement, and the department have a plan, an improvement plan, which they will monitor, and obviously it will come to scrutiny as well. Some of the sort of recommendations about improvements are around making sure that we have more support for carers, which the department recognises. And I think it's important to say that with regards to all of the improvements that were actually highlighted in the report, I think the report, the inspectors also highlighted that the council knew the areas that they needed to make improvements, which is really important. So all I can say is if you could approve the inspection, and of course a massive thank you to everybody involved in it, because I'm sure they worked tirelessly to do that, and to the previous lead member, well done to you, and to you as well, because I think you were you were grilled as well, weren't you? Yeah. So so well done to all. Just obviously a quick note on finances. We all know that adult social care services are overspending, like everyone across the country. We have a new government, so they acknowledge the absolute challenges that adult social care services have. We don't need to say that. So let's hope that we have some sort of plan and some sort of acknowledgement of the massive amount of work that needs to be done in this particular area. Okay, so I move that report.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Chowdhury, do you want to second this?
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Samir Chowdhury, Cabinet Member for Education, Children's skills and employment, and I'm happy to second it. Thank you so much, Councillor Bath. I think if I go back and think about the CQC inspection, I think it was not a tough work, but it was a work which every member involved from our departments, they worked really hard, and coming out with good. And as Councillor Bath has said, sometimes it happens where we do need improvements, but having plans how to improve and what we're going to do about it, that was the most important thing. And on this, I think I would like to say big thank you to all the team, to Stephen and all the team at adult social care department, and you know yourself how badly we were grilled, but I think it was a really good interview which we both attended together. Thank you.
Right, it's been moved and seconded. Yeah, it was probably the toughest hour that I've spent. It was a real grilling, but a good conversation actually. And in many respects, being one of the first is good because we did set a bit of a benchmark in terms of the other conversations that the CQC will go and have. And like both Councillor Bath and Councillor Chowdhury, I'd like to put on record the thanks on behalf of Cabinet to the teams who've worked so hard. I know these inspections aren't easy. They do take a lot of work alongside business as usual as well. And that's quite tough. In particular, I know Kim was here a lot of, Kim Seddy was here a lot of the time preparing for it and just keeping staff morale up. And that's so important. So thanks on behalf of the Cabinet. Right, it's open to discussion and debate. Anybody like to say anything on this? I think it pretty much reads itself. So I'll go straight to the recommendation, on page 102, 1.1. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. Right. Now, unfortunately for you, you've got a suite of reports from me. So I apologise. Starting with agenda item 6, the budget outturn. So this is a report the Cabinet will be used to. This is the outturn position at the end of the financial year. And this follows the next report, which is the strategy update as well. So this sets out where we are. We know, as Councillor Bath alluded to, where the pressures are. We've known for a while, demand, inflation, the cost of goods and services is still high despite inflation coming down slightly, and that does have an impact and a delayed effect on the council. These are pressures that we need to monitor. We're also obviously monitoring the housing revenue account very closely as well in order to deliver our ambitions. But we do remain ambitious for the council. Cabinet are working incredibly hard behind the scenes, despite the pressures that are laid out here in this report. But we don't shy away from saying that there are issues. This talks about, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second in the next report, what 14 years of the previous government has done to local government finance. But I think the good news story here is that we have always been a prudent council. We've always looked after the finances because we have to deliver for our residents, the most vulnerable, as is the theme throughout the reports this evening. So I formally move the report. Will you second?
Yes, very happy to second, and will reserve my right to speak.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. It's now open for discussion and debate. Can I
No one else wants to speak, I will.
Yeah, go on then.
I needn't have waited. Yes, I mean, as the leader says, you know, we are in still in tricky financial times. The last government certainly didn't help that. We've had a pandemic, huge, inflation reaching 11% not too long ago, and to be honest, to only be £5.3 million overspending is actually a pretty good. It's not where anyone would want to be, but got to look at the positives and say that it's it could be far worse. As it is in the report, the HRA is under incredible pressure, and officers are working incredibly hard to look at that. We know that from our resident survey that affordable homes and house building, despite being challenging for many, where they live, it is necessary it is absolutely needed by our residents, and is one of the highest, I think the highest in the resident survey, request for the council to look at that house building. So the HRA plays an enormous part in delivering those homes, and so we have to make sure we get that right balance of things. And it will be one of probably many calls we make on the government, but one on the new government, but one that will say that, you know, there needs to be not just financial support, but support in lots of areas to ensure that we can build as many homes for our residents as we possibly can. Not just any homes in any area, but making sure it's the right homes in the right area. And I suppose lastly, for me to say, you know, we acknowledge there is slippage in the capital programme, and that is, you know, not something that we'd want to see, but, you know, we're asking officers to make sure that they're looking at that to ensure that the money that we have in the system is being spent in the right place to ensure that residents are getting the best value for money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Anyone else on this one? No, can't see anyone else indicating. So we'll go to the recommendations on 146 and 147A to R. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, next one, as I kind of alluded to just a second ago, is agenda item 7, the One Hounslow Financial Strategy Update. Cabinet won't be used to seeing this report quite so early. It's generally presented as one report in November, but actually a good opportunity to take stock and lay bare, as I kind of alluded to just a moment ago, what 14 years of the previous government has done to our finances and the real effect that it has on our financial position in terms of both the HRA and the general fund, and how much the effect of inflation and increased demand and increased costs has had on our finances, and how difficult it has been. I said just a moment ago, we've been very prudent with the money, and part of that prudence is about having the discipline to look at our services, look at how we can offer them, and you'll see as part of the One Hounslow corporate plan, how we're transforming services over a longer period of time to deliver better outcomes for our residents, but also to deliver savings as well. Of course, as Councillor Bruce just spoke about, our ask of the new government is to offer some financial certainty, and it's pleasing to know that the new government have committed to at least giving us 3-year settlements so that we can plan, which is very welcome and a departure from previous practices under the previous government. What comes out of this is a set of savings and actions that we will be taking between now and the next iteration of this, which will come early winter, which forms part of the formal budget setting process. So it is a longer budget setting process, but in many respects, the challenge that we are facing with a £30 million deficit means that we have to be working at this constantly. And I know colleagues around the table are not only looking at this, but also actually where we need to invest to save over the longer term, for example, in net zero, in our EDI strategy, in our thriving communities strategy, and everything that flows from that. So Cabinet are asked to note the revised strategy and the forecasts, as well as approve the savings oh God, I've lost my words. Savings proposals. There you go. So I formally move the report. You can second it?
I will second and reserve my right to speak.
Okay, it's open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this? I fear you may well be speaking again very soon, Councillor Bruce. Go on.
I fear I am. No, I feel I am, not I fear. I think just to sort of echo the words of the leader, to be honest, and say that we are, it talks to the previous report as well, we are in challenging economic and financial circumstances still. You know, there isn't massive fiscal headroom in the macro economy. Multi-year settlements will have a positive impact on our ability to plan, but we're not suddenly going to be awash with cash in the next few weeks or months. So we do have to look about how we can be efficient and make those savings and ensure that this council continues to be financially prudent and do the right things and take those tough decisions. And this talks very much to that. So, positive overtures from the new government, but we still have to be making decisions here that are going to benefit the residents, as well as making sure that financially we are secure in the long term. I think this talks very well to that. So very happy to second it.
Thank you. And it was remiss of me to say everything. We consult with scrutiny very regularly on all of this as well. So there is that check. Anyone else on this report? Can't see anyone else indicating. So we'll go to the recommendations on page 202, A, B, and C. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you. Right, agenda item 8, the Treasury Management Annual Report. So again, this is a report that Cabinet will be very aware of. This sets out our Treasury Management approach over the last year. So our Treasury Management approach is not only how we invest money, but how we make investments to be able to deliver on some of our priorities, our prudential indicators, and how we're investing taxpayer money to generate the best return for housing residents. I can tell colleagues around the table it is a very technical report, but there's nothing in here that causes me any concern. And so very straightforward, I move the report.
And I am very happy to second that.
Is open for discussion and debate. Can't see anyone indicating. It's a fairly straightforward report, so we'll go straight to the recommendations. On page 227, 1.1 and 1.2, can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. Right, agenda item 9, the quarterly performance reporting for Q4. So we've talked about the finance. Actually, an important part of all of the financial considerations is actually being very honest and open about how we report on our performance against our corporate plan and the delivery plan that is associated with it. So this is a report that Cabinet will be aware of. For those in the audience and watching at home, Cabinet members are briefed on their portfolio areas and how performance is going, and they're able to quiz that. This is the public version of that document for all to see consolidated. So I formally move the report. Any second?
I am happy to second it as well.
Anybody like to say anything on this one? No, I can't see anyone.
No.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Dunn, beg your pardon.
Thanks, Leader. I mean, I think it's good to just point out a few things in the report because it is really important. As you said, we have sight of this at other times, so it's not just in the Cabinet papers, but it really does help us to see how things are going within our portfolios. So, for example, I mean, just looking at the first page, I can see that, RAG rating red for EV charging plans rolled out. And that's something that I'm aware of, speaking regularly to members of the transport team about. And there are various reasons why that is delayed. I'm not too worried about it. I think we're still going to be on target to meet our pledge and what we've said to residents of the borough. But there has been some slippage there. Some of that is we delayed things in order to take advantage of some government funding. That has gone on and on and on. I'd say we're about 12 months delayed at this point because of not only that initial delay, okay, let's apply for this. We were successful in applying. And then the bureaucracy since then has just been ridiculous. So I'm really hoping that with the new government in place, we can get that speeded up, do the things we have to do as a borough, because there's, it's not about passing the buck, but it's just saying that we need to have a better working relationship with government here so that we can get things moving. And that's a very good example of that one. And then just looking at the one below that, I can see I've got a green RAG rating, which is around sustainable urban drainage projects completed. And in case anyone's wondering what that is, this is incredibly important for the borough, especially as we move into an era of more and more climate change, more and more flooding. And of course, our drainage systems can't necessarily cope with the flooding. And ultimately, that's why we end up with pollution going into our rivers and our seas. And so putting in place sustainable urban drainage is really important. What that does is means when it rains heavily, you've got much more of that rainfall soaking away into the earth, it being stored even under the ground, and then being able to slowly trickle away, filter through, rather than going straight into the drains, which A, can't cope and cause flooding, and B, then the water companies are then discharging that mixed with sewage into the rivers. So it really important project. It's just an example really of something that is one line on this report, but is actually really important to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you make a really important point. It's not about green rating everything. It is about being really honest about things and the narrative that goes behind it. So yeah, point well made. Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Anyone else on this report? I can't see anyone else indicating. So the recommendations on this are on page 300, 1.1. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Almost my final report. Right. Agenda item 10 is the productivity plan. Now, Cabinet colleagues will recall Michael Gove introduced these productivity plans as in the dying days of the government before the general election was called, in his words, to improve service performance and reduce wasteful expenditure. Well, news to him, we were already doing a lot of that, and you've seen a lot of that evidenced in the reports we've been discussing this evening. Nonetheless, we were required to produce these plans, and they are due to be submitted by the 19th in a couple of days' time. So they are here before Cabinet to have a look at. They point out that there are many reporting mechanisms, both internally and externally through existing structures in the LGA. And we are absolutely right to point that out to the past government and now the incoming government that will be receiving these, and we'll see what happens with productivity plans going forward. As a council, we are very, very open. We don't mind producing them, but they do create a bureaucratic burden. And so part of the conversation that we will want to have with the new government is how we can reduce that bureaucratic burden while still reporting in a way that is adequate for our residents and to reassure government as well as all the other reporting burdens that we do have. So I formally move the report.
I'm very happy to second. Again, I'll speak now just to echo the words that you've said just a moment ago. We were required to produce this, and so we have. But I do think that there are some things here that actually could talk to some of the conversations we will be having with the new government. Down towards the end of the appendix, we talk about the ask is for us to tell the government about barriers that prevent improving services and what we would need to improve things elsewhere. And we talk about the fact that this should be a partnership, that local government is not, and it says this in the appendix, local government is not the delivery arm of central government, but that it has to be a partnership. And that's how we're going to get the best outcomes for all residents, those that we are responsible for in Hounslow, but all residents across the country. And the understanding what the drivers for central government are can help us work better with them and have that collaborative approach. It shouldn't be an us and them, which sadly it has been. And that's not a political point. That is I think an issue that councils of all colours have been finding, increasingly so over the last few years. And it's something that I hope opens up somewhat, and those conversations can take place much more openly, that we can get the best results for all our residents.
Yeah, quite right. Okay, it's now open for discussion and debate. Anybody on this item? Can't see anyone indicating. Okay, the recommendations are on page 325. To agree, can I see all those in favour? Brilliant. That will get submitted on the 19th. Okay, in Councillor Sampson's absence, just when you thought I would shut up, I'm going to do one more. So this is agenda item 11, compliant policies and guidance for council housing tenants. So by way of introduction, as a responsible and compliant social landlord, the council step in to help our tenants whenever they experience issues that may well threaten their tenancies, particularly in relation to the security or safety of their homes. In more serious instances, this can include assisting tenants who are victims of domestic abuse and antisocial behaviour. So the first two policy documents introduced in this report set out the council's approach to providing this support so that victims, the officers assisting them, and concerned parties are clear on the offer of help available, what it is designed to achieve, and the processes that we follow. This ensures that we are accountable, deliver high quality services, and that vulnerable tenants that are experiencing complex problems are not deterred from seeking help through a lack of available information, nor left unsupported through service oversight or error. Our dedication to delivering transparent, efficient, and effective services as a compliant landlord is also underpinned by our commitment to openness with our tenants and residents, engaging with them to seek and reflect their feedback in our service model and processes. The third and final policy document attached to this report therefore sets out our approach to such engagement, in particular how we listen to tenants and leaseholders to adjust our processes and better respond to their needs. It is anticipated that the adoption and implementation of these documents will enhance the assurance of compliance with the new housing regulations, improve outcomes for residents, and lead to fewer housing complaints. So with that, I formally move the report.
Happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Okay, it's open for discussion and debate. I think it's an important area, but it is fairly self-explanatory. I can't see anyone else indicating on this. So we'll move to the recommendations on page 334, 1 and 2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Right. Councillor Sidhu, your first report, agenda item 12, Safer Communities Improvement Programme Outline Business Case. Over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Raghvinder Sidhu, Cabinet Member for Public Safety Enforcement and Regulatory Services. I'm pleased to bring forward this report to update Cabinet on the work progress through the Safer Communities Improvement Programme over the first half of this year, thanks to Councillor Ajmer Garewal, officers, to develop a new model for community safety and set out the next steps in its design. The landscape of community safety has become increasingly complex. Traditional approaches, while achieving some success, have shown limitations in addressing the complex nature of issues faced by our communities. It is in response to these challenges that we have embarked on the development of this new model, a model that is holistic, inclusive, and adaptive. Our new proposed model focused on early intervention, community engagement, and the integration of services to prevent issues before they escalate. Central to this approach is building trust and open lines of communications with the communities. This model enables officers to engage with residents, understand their concerns, and work together to develop tailored solutions to enhance safety and trust. Through this, we recognize that many safety issues stem from underlying social factors that cannot be addressed solely through traditional enforcement methods. By working more closely with social workers, housing officers, mental health professionals, and other service providers as part of our wider community safety system, we aim to offer a comprehensive support network that addresses the needs of all our communities. The Safer Communities Improvement Program is key to meet the ambition. A phase 2 of program concludes this report, provided an update on progress since the approval of strategic business case in November 2023, specifically around completing a review of Hounslow Community Safety Partnership Board, developing and launching the enhanced Safer Community area-based trial using repurposed funds from the council-funded police team. Underlying the failure commissioning requirements for the council-funded police team, developing the Safer Community Target Operating Model. The recommended new model and benefits it's enabled are described in the report and supporting documents. Key improvements that we will be looking in new model include increasing focus on patrol, community outreach work, capturing insight and bringing intelligence directly from the community, and taking locality-based approach. A strong emphasis on technology and data-driven decision-making to identify potential risks, allocate resources from more effectively, and measure the impacts of our interventions. In new functions for incoming work requests, which will effectively reroute work quickly to the most appropriate place via the implementation of risk-based criteria. This will closely align to the work of transforming community experience program, an improved fast track process for the most highly risk cases, more structured reporting into strategic partnership, and boards such as safer community area based meetings. As we move forward, it is essential to remember that the path to enhance community safety requires ongoing evaluation, flexibility, and willingness to adopt the changing circumstances. Our model includes mechanism for regular assessments and feedback, allowing us to learn from our experience, celebrate our success, and address our challenges. The intention is that officers will now move to a detailed design of a new target operating model, setting out the full costing, structures, and processing that will underpin the model, which will implementing some of the initial changes required to implement it, which includes integrating the safer community team within the community safety and neighborhood enforcement function together under the safer community service areas. Additionally, we will explore the opportunities related to the future arrangements of relevant enforcement contracts, along with opportunities to improve the council's approach to enforcement more broadly in the next phase of the program. Recommendations on 16th of July Cabinet is asked today. Note the progress undertaken by the Safer Community Implement Program to date. Approve the recommendation Safer Community Target Operating Model, and approve the allocation of the budget of £128,000 funded by One Hounslow Transforming. So I
Thank you, Councillor Sidhu. I'll formally second it. And we saw some of the, as Councillor Ajmer Garawal introduced, the perceptions of crime and actually some of the interventions that we can put in. So I'm really pleased to see this coming forward, plus an additional tranche of work to follow this afterwards. So I'll formally second it. It's now open for discussion and debate. Councillor Shaheen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sidhu, for bringing this forward, and also Councillor Garawal for all the work you did previously on it. One can't underestimate the importance of this vital work. As the report sets out, Hounslow is not a high crime borough. We are a safe borough, and yet it only takes one crime to shock the borough and create a perception that there is danger. And we saw that only very recently when there was a tragic murder in Hanworth Park. And I have to hand it to the community safety team for coming together with residents, with the parks teams, with the police to create a holistic action plan that was that reassured residents and worked towards the safety of the park and the wider area. So I very much welcome work that will see that community safety team, the community safety strategy strengthened, bolstered, and improved going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Shaheen. Councillor Bath.
Thank you, Leader. I kind of echo what Councillor Salman Shaheen says. I know we are a low crime borough, but we do, the fear of crime is obviously a significant, and it's a challenge. But one of the things that I wanted to say that I really absolutely support in terms of the direction forward is the model of integrated working. And I have actually seen it work so beautifully when we've seen antisocial behaviour in place. You've got all the teams coming together to try and sort out the core root of the problem, and that's when it comes together really well and produces some really good outcomes. So that's absolutely a completely sensible way to go forward. So I totally support that, and thanks to the Cabinet members for all the work that they've done in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bath. Anyone else? Can't see anyone else. We'll move to the recommendations, which are on page 462, 1, 2, and 3. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, we now move on to agenda item 13, the curbside strategy. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you. Councillor Catherine Dunn. Do I need to say it again? Okay. So really delighted to introduce our curbside strategy. This forms part of our ambitious plans for a healthier, greener and safer Hounslow. And it complements our progressive parking strategy, which I believe is the next report to be presented tonight. We've ensured that the two strategies will work together in tandem. And furthermore, the parking strategy actions will help to fund the curbside strategy measures. So the strategy updates how Hounslow curbside spaces are used, ensuring that our streets and our public areas are designed for everyone. That means designing streets to support more walking, cycling, wheeling for those in wheelchairs and public transport, while also ensuring that there is enough parking for private cars. The strategy addresses a range of issues, including physical inactivity and the associated health issues that come along with that by encouraging more active travel. It addresses loneliness by creating more livable streets. It addresses poor air quality and, again, associated health issues by supporting cleaner travel options. It addresses and helps us to build resilience to climate change through increased greening of our streets. And it helps to address poor accessibility by improving access to a range of transport options. The draft curbside strategy was consulted on alongside the parking strategy as a joint consultation from September to December last year, and we received over 300 responses to the consultation. The proposals that are being brought forward and that will be implemented, should Cabinet agree, the curbside strategy include more car club bays with a choice of operator. This means that people will have the choice to use a car for those essential journeys without having to own one themselves. It includes the retention of the e-bike scheme that we have been trialling. This is subject to a review of a full 12 months of data. Current data from the e-bike trial suggests the scheme has been a success with over 65,000 trips starting in the borough. That was in May. Well, I've just received the latest data for June, which says that there were 81,000 trips on e-bikes from the hire scheme starting in this borough in June, which is absolutely fantastic. And we may well see further growth over the summer months, weather depending. With Lime, the operator, having now increased its fleet size up to the maximum that's set out in our memorandum of understanding. The scheme was launched in the east of the borough first. It was done in three phases. And so when it came to the third phase in the west of the borough, that only started in September last year. So because we'd like to see how the scheme performs after a full 12 months in all of the areas, we will be waiting to see that data before we take a final decision to be delegated to the chief officers following consultation with ward members. Parking compliance is one of the people's big concerns with the scheme, and it currently stands at 95%. But again, Lime have deployed more staff to Hounslow recently in order to help to tidy and redistribute the bikes. So we're hoping to see perhaps even further improvements there. Further measures to be brought in under the curbside strategy include more secure cycle parking, at the curbside, increased street trees, greening and other placemaking features, more space for deliveries and servicing, and more consideration for taxi provision. So all in all, I think it will have a transformative effect on our borough, and I recommend it to Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Councillor Shiraj Garawal, do you want to second it?
Yes, I second it and I reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Garawal. It's now open for discussion and debate. As Councillor Dunn said, this does read alongside the parking strategy, which will be introduced in just a moment, but a very, very comprehensive report. Can't see anyone. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bruce. Sorry.
I was waiting for others, but again, I'll jump in. Really, really positive. This speaks to a number of our objectives as a council, our ambition for the borough, healthier, wishing for healthier residents and being able to be more active and that kind of thing. I think, since we've started talking about lots of these things, I have become far more active in terms of some of the travel that I've been taking, cycling far more. I'm really pleased to hear that there's going to be more bike racks and stands for personal bikes. When I started cycling a bit more a couple of years ago, I used to find there was plenty of space, but obviously lots of people like me have started cycling more. And now where I used to find lots of space, there are loads of bikes in them, annoyingly, and I can't tie my bike up. So great to hear that there's going to be more places for that. Lime bikes and the e-bike introduction has broadly been very positive. I know there have been issues, and I've had feedback as a ward councillor on that, and it's good to see that being reflected here, that there are going to be some changes brought in, because I know while there are some very positive things that are happening in lots of areas, there are some of the docking bays that are not working as well, and to look at some of that in consultation with feedback that's been given and ward councillors' feedback as well is really, really positive. So it's absolutely the right direction of travel, not a pun, but reflecting the needs that things need to be changed and altered as we go. And I'm sure we can look continuously at this and thinking how things might change across the next few years as well. So fantastic work, really good, Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Anyone else?
I'd
Do you want
like
to
to sum up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. So just in summing up, because it's important to say this, and I didn't say it earlier. One of the things I am asking Cabinet to agree to is to sign a statement of intent to enter a pan-London micro-mobility contract. So that means e-bikes and e-scooters. And the reason for that is that we think in the longer term, this will provide a much better way of managing e-bikes and e-scooters across the whole of London, so that there are parking rules, for example, that are the same in every borough, rather than, I don't know if anyone here does or listening does use Lime bikes, but for example, at the moment there are different parking rules in different boroughs, whereas bringing in single rules across London will help to improve that parking compliance and make it easier for everyone to use. But it will also help boroughs alongside TfL to manage the scheme in a better way. So that's just to explain why that's in there. And of course, I do welcome very much Councillor Bruce's supportive comments.
I think I need to learn how to cycle. Right. Famous last words. Right. Recommendations on this are on page 511 over onto 512, 124. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, we now move on to agenda item 14, the parking strategy. Councillor Shivraj Garawal, over to you.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Shivraj Garawal, Cabinet Member for Infrastructure, Recycling and Transformation. This report is the first strategy of our borough, and it goes, as Councillor Dunn has said, that it goes hand in hand with the curbside strategy. The ambitious plan is how do we reshape the travel around our borough, and how we can continue to provide facilities for motorists while still fulfilling our climate change and clean air priorities. The strategy seeks to provide high-quality car parking for Hounslow residents and visitors to our borough. At the same time, it encourages more people to consider cleaner and greener transport options such as cycling and walking to improve their health and to help reduce harmful emissions. In putting together this strategy, we have reviewed how we charge for parking, how we issue permits to residents and businesses, how we get the most out of the facilities we provide. We are introducing initiatives such as emission-based parking and control parking zones to support our residents. A survey was undertaken in September, and which made recommendations to increase the 3 emission-based bands to 7. The pricing structure banding is in line with other London boroughs. With regards to motorcycles, which has been a bit of issue, which I have received a few emails, they have been included, and this is a common approach with other London boroughs with similar charges and banding. And the proposed charges are in Appendix 3 of this report. I asked the Cabinet to approve this report for a cleaner, greener, and a safer Hounslow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garwal. Councillor Shaheen, you're going to second?
Thank you very much. Well, Councillor Garwal, I would say that first of all, parking is never going to make one popular. So first of all, I should say you're welcome. But I would also say thank you for completing the work on this. It's something that, as the former cabinet member for parking, I worked for some time with officers on. Now, as I say, parking, there's always going to be things that upset residents about parking, but there's a lot to be positive about in this comprehensive strategy, which I think the first, as you talked about, is emissions-based parking charges, which is very important for encouraging more sustainable transportation for our residents, and it's sustainable economically for us into the future as well. There's a few other things that I particularly want to mention in this report that I'm very, very proud of personally. One I would talk about is, over a period of some months, we've seen spate, and it really has been spiking, of blue badge thefts in the borough, and it's quite concerning to residents. I've personally received a lot of emails, as I know have many ward councillors. This is because blue badges, when they're displayed in your car, are very valuable. People can smash, grab, take them off, and use them because they can be displayed anywhere. So what we're bringing in this parking strategy, I'm very pleased to say, is the option to have a digital blue badge, so that you don't, if you can display a physical blue badge if you want, in keeping with other boroughs, but if you don't want to, if you fear that you may be the victim of crime, you will be welcome to apply for a digital blue badge, and that will have the same weight within this borough as a physical blue badge. So you're not going to be at risk of having your blue badge stolen, taken away from you. Another thing that I'm very proud about in this is the permits for a scheme to look at introducing permits for new parents, so that if you're the parent of a new child, your relatives can come over without having to go through the faff of visitors permits. They can have free permits to come and visit their new grandchild or relative. And also, we are looking at reforming and streamlining the process for getting visitor permits in general, and there will be a digital option for visitor permits. And I think it's one thing that residents have always asked me about is, why do I have to write in, why do I have to phone in and get a load of paper copies, when it would be so much easier if we just go online and get the digital. So as long as we are continuing with full digital inclusion and allowing people to use paper permits as well, I think it's very important that this strategy sets out that you will be able to get your digital permits too.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. Yeah, all important points. Right, it's been moved and seconded. Open for discussion, debate, comments. Anybody? Can't see anybody. Very comprehensive. Okay, so the recommendations are on page 641 to 4. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, we now move to agenda item 15, local PAN regulation 19. Councillor Bruce.
Yes, thank you very much. I won't go into huge detail about this, I will get a second bite at the cherry to be able to go into that detail, hopefully with cabinet approval at full council next week. What I'm asking cabinet here today is to recommend that this goes forward, and the various recommendations go forward to full council next week, where it can be considered. We are talking about Regulation 19, part of the local plan. It is incredibly important that a borough has an up-to-date and sound local plan. It talks to how development can happen in the borough, but how it can happen in the best possible way for the benefit of the borough and its residents. Without that, it becomes much harder to have the control that we would like over the types of development that we would like to see in Hounslow. That talks to things like the design of it, the massing and the size, and all the relevant infrastructure. The history of this is that we have a local plan in place, a 2015 version. There were recommended updates to that in 2 particular areas of our borough. Because for various things, including COVID, it took quite a while for those 2 area updates to come through. And the recommendation from the inspector was actually, you need to take these away and you need to look at everything again. So our decision was to withdraw all those updated volumes. Doesn't mean we got rid of them completely, but we brought them together into what we're now calling our single local plan. And Regulation 19 is saying this is our proposed version of our single local plan. We will now go out to consult on that proposed version. We will obviously reflect all of the comments where we can into that proposed local plan that will then be submitted to the inspector, hopefully, if all goes to plan, for adoption at the end of next year. So we are not, I think this is really important to say, we are not either today or even next week at Borough Council agreeing the local plan that is proposed. We still are 18 months away from having an adopted, that up-to-date, I should say, adopted local plan in this borough. And there's a lot of consultation and a lot of engagement and a lot of discussion that needs to take place between now and then, including all of the evidence and the work that's been done until now, and everything else that will happen in the next 18 months. I should say, if people are looking at the cabinet report from this evening, you will note there are no appendices underneath. The appendices are linked within the report. So if you want to see the 400 and something page report, please go into the item, go down towards the bottom, and you will see where our proposals are set out. Yes, it's 400 pages. That is a huge amount of documentation. There is a contents page. There are some things that I'm sure for individuals that will be, and groups that will be more relevant than others, and I would urge you to have a look at that. But for everybody, having a look at the summary and perhaps some of the site allocations as well, just to give a flavour of what we're trying to achieve here and how some of those changes have taken place over the last 9 years, in fact, 10 years into next year. So I've probably gone on longer than I actually anticipated at the beginning, but I do think it's important to give that context. And I'll talk about this again, hopefully with approval. I will talk about this again at Borough Council next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bruce. I'll second it and reserve my right to speak. It's now open for discussion and debate, but I think it's fairly straightforward. You've explained it really well. So I'll move straight on to the recommendations, which are on page 766 over on 767, 1.1 to 1.7. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Thank you very much. We're almost there, colleagues. I appreciate there's a lot that we've discussed this evening. Item 16 is transforming our community experience to strategic business case update. In introducing this report, this is an update on tranche 1 of such an important programme for the council and for us as administration, transforming the way our customers, our community interacts with us is such an important part of that longer term transformation. And just to remind colleagues of the vision of our resident experience, it's that our resident experience is inclusive, positive, and right first time. We listen and act on resident feedback, working together to co-design services and achieve improved outcomes for our communities. And we absolutely keep that central, and that's been a theme that's run through everything that we have done. Following approval of this report, we will commence the next tranche of work within the programme, and this will deliver 3 things. So the first is a resident experience project, so a new service model and structure, which makes changes to processes and technology to enable improved ways of working. And just remind colleagues, it is in the report, but just to bring it out, the key deliverables are the new resident experience and locality structure, rollout of core community hubs in the borough's libraries. And I know, Councillor Sheen, you talked about our libraries earlier. They are changing and improving as well as being libraries, which is really, really important, including here at Hounslow House, so that there is a consistent face-to-face service. The relocation of Cranford Library service to the Meadowbank Adult Education Centre, and the creation of a community hub in North Cranford. The identification of requirements and deployment of technology required to deliver the service efficiently and effectively. Training and ongoing framework for learning and development to ensure the right knowledge and skills are in place with our teams, and preparation for ongoing management of the onboarding of new services, processes and people into the resident experience and locality service aligned to the service transformation plan. So that's number 1. Number 2 is a service transformation project, which will design, create and implement changes to the resident interactions across 30 of our council services in a phased approach in line with the operating model. And that includes changes to technology, end-to-end processes, with the associated contact activity in the services moving into the resident experience and locality service. And finally, a web service project, which will implement and update our website, the public-facing website, on an updated technical platform that will fix some of the current usability issues and improve customer experience. It will simplify navigation and provide more streamlined access to the services and information that is important to residents. The updated site will launch in February of next year, so there's a lot of work that's going on in the background, and provide the foundational web platform to support continuous improvement for our resident experience. So with that, I formally move the report.
Very happy to second and simply say, I mean, it's a nice end to Cabinet in a sense, because it talks back to where we started with our resident survey, that we are doing a lot of good things and we're getting a lot right, but it's very clear that there's a lot to do and there are things that we don't do as well as people would like us to and that we know we should. And this is part of that, that we are listening, that we take on board all the different things that people say, and we try and reflect that and move forward with that and put things in place that are going to make people's lives happier and healthier and simpler and just better. And that's what this talks to. So it's been a very nice journey through Cabinet this evening, finishing, and I think in a very positive place. Thank you.
It's almost like we planned it that way. Right, it's open for discussion and debate. Councillor Hajime-Garawal.
I just want to echo what Councillor Bruce said. Exactly, that is what's needed, and that's what residents have been crying out for. One place where they can get all the services, and the sooner the better. Looking forward to phase 2 of the delivery of tranche 2 of the programme, and I think it will be really appreciated by the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garawal. Anyone else on this one? Can't see anyone else indicating. So the recommendations are on page 783, 126. Can I see all those in favour? That is agreed. Wonderful. I haven't had any referrals from other council committees apart from the scrutiny one. Neither have been notified of any urgent business. Can someone move exclusion of press and public, please? Councillor Chowdhury. Is that seconded? Councillor Bath. Agreed. Okay. Right. For those watching online, I'm afraid this bit is done without members of the press or public in the room. So we'll bid you a good night and thank you very much for watching. Unfortunately, members of the audience that aren't councillors will also have to leave us at this point. But thank you for coming along. Hopefully you got something out of it. And we will now go offline.